Today we're at Mount Pinos in the Chumash language, and I'm probably butchering the pronunciation, Iwahinmu. It's a sacred mountain, so there was never any villages up where we were at. This was just used for ceremony. And usually it was just the antap that would come up and do ceremony up here. It's the highest mountain in the area. It's the highest mountain in Chumash territory. And for me, I use it as an example of how connected Native peoples are to the land. The mountain right next to it is about 8,700 feet. But they knew that this mountain was a little higher. And I have driven around it, and there's been times that I look at it and go, no, that mountain looks higher. So how they determined that is just incredible.
Every village throughout the area that was large enough village had an astronomer that lived there, and that's all he did. The astronomer would go to these lookout spots and spend all night there. Then he'd come back to the village after he gathered his information and pass it on to the wut, or the chief. Then he would spread it to the people, and then the people would spread it to the children.
We were maritime people and lived on the ocean, and so the stars and the constellations and their movements was something that we tracked very, very closely. So my understanding of the summer solstice, which is what we're up here celebrating today, is that unlike the winter solstice, where we're doing ceremony to bring the sun back so it doesn't continue to get lower and lower, today the sun is at its highest. And when we started ceremony today right at noon, the sun was directly above us. It literally splits us in half. It's the halfway point of the year. But it's the time of the year that the days are long, and so we do more ceremony to thank Mother Earth and make our offerings to make sure that we're being respectful, so that the fall, when we're out collecting acorns and pine nuts, and we have the summer to hunt and gather and dry our meat and our fish, that it will be a good summer for that.
The Arborglyph is a carving on an oak tree that was discovered up in the mountains in the Central Coast here. The oak tree is estimated to be about 200 to 350 years old, and we think that the carving actually was done probably 200 years ago. What we did in our research, we found that image was very similar to many images that were in the painted caves all over the Central Coast in the mountains. So by the studying and research of the image itself, what it means in accordance to Chumash astronomy, the image represents a calendar time for the Chumash people to understand the different seasons of the year. Arborglyph image is basically a scientific discovery, and as far as Chumash and Indigenous people is concerned.
I do storytelling, and I was sharing stories, and I shared a Chumash story about the 7 boys who turn into geese. And I use that story when I'm as an example of our connection to the stars and the constellations, how we studied them, and how those 7 boys, as they put goose feathers on their arms and were able to fly and flap their arms and turn into wings, and they got higher and higher and turned into geese as they got higher and higher. As they flew off to the north, they turned into the constellation that we now call Pleiades. And I was sharing that story, and someone came up to me and said that there's I believe either Cherokee or Choctaw story. And the story is similar but different. And in their story, it's 7 girls that can dance so fast and spin so fast that when they were doing, I believe, a corn dance, they started dancing and spinning and spinning, and they were spinning so fast that they started to rise up into the sky. And as they spun and got higher and higher, they turned into the constellation that they call Pleiades. Now here's a tribe that both the Cherokee and the Choctaw, their original homeland, is over 2,000 miles away from the Chumash.
They could understand what's going on in the galaxy or in the universe that the scientists today that travel in space probably can utilize some of that knowledge to make further their own study today. So I think if they bring it together, they'll better have a better understanding and a better way to know how to live in this world.